Good evening. Welcome to Facebook Live, Creative Musings with Joy and Kelly Bonsall. I'm Uma, and I am here with my sister Kelly. And we love sharing on Monday nights because, one, it gives us a chance to just connect and have conversations that feel inspiring, and we love sharing with you. And we see that someone is here live with us. We invite you to share in the chat who you are so we know who's with us. And tonight we are going to explore the concept of where do you get your inspiration? And we haven't talked about it beforehand, and at least not today in regards to this. So I'm interested in what comes up between us, what Kelly has to say, where inspiration comes to her. And I see Guru Dharam here, and you are also welcome to join the conversation, Guru Dharam, because we'd love to hear where your inspiration comes from as well. So Kelly, it's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
And where does your
Where
inspiration
does it come from? I was inspired to think about this topic because I'm pursuing a new creative thing, like just learning how to do some different design work and some different illustration stuff. And I know that I have like inspiration for art projects and things like that. And sometimes it just happens and I'm not really sure where it comes from. But as I'm thinking of like these collections of designs that I can create, I've been thinking about what I've done before and how it relates into what I'm doing now and how there's all this connection. We always talk about how when we bring up a topic in our creative musings space, how it seems to thread through so many of the other things that we're doing in our lives. And I think that I often think that I'm supposed to get my inspiration like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to look for designs on Pinterest or whatever it is, something like that. And that really the true or like the inspiration that I want that feeds the most interesting projects comes from so many unexpected places. I might be making visual art, but I might be getting inspiration from a conversation or from, something else. And not only just the content, but even shapes and color, schemes and things like that. And so today, part of the work that I was doing with this learning was about gathering inspiration. And she had this whole thing about, how when you can find something from an experience, you connect with it so much more deeply. And it was like putting language to something that I think like I know, and I feel like I talk about that all the time, but not just it to such a specific, collecting images for pattern design kind of thing, So when we were like, what are we going to talk about? That was the thing that I had been sort of considering today. So, yeah.
Great. All right. And I agree, when it comes from an experience that inspires us, it has a depth that maybe starts out more richly. And not saying that other inspirations can't go deep, but it gave me pause to think about it too. It's like, well, what does inspire me? And what do I do when I'm not inspired? And so, it's like, well, the experience, there were two things over this weekend I did that were very inspiring. One, I went to a concert here in Taos. It's the first time that the Taos Center for the Arts reopened, and there was a live concert, and a friend invited me. And the inspiration, it was like listening to this music, and it was actually someone that I was not familiar with beforehand. And the words just started coming and made me wanted to come home and write songs. And that's not, I've written a couple long ago and whatever. And Ryan, my son, and I have been talking about getting a piano. We both play guitars, though I don't play mine very often. And we've been talking about getting a piano. And anyway, it was just like, I invite or asked my friend, do you have any paper or pencil? I want to write down some thoughts, that these words were just going round and round my mind, and I didn't have anything with me. And so on the back of a receipt to the hardware store, I'm writing down, some words. And then the next day, same friend invited me to a sweat lodge. And I've been wanting to do that for a long time and haven't had the opportunity. Wasn't the right time for whatever reason. And so, in celebration of the solstice and all the prayers that were for the world, for Mother Earth, for the people of the world, for ourselves, for our loved ones, all of those things were so deep that, it's just like, where's my canvas? Where's my paper to write? Where's my voice singing on the way home, with words, making up songs? And those were just some things that, the inspiration was flowing. It was
Yeah.
really lovely.
Yeah. That is beautiful. I mean, and it's important to acknowledge those experiences, because they probably are happening when at times when we're not, we talk about being in the present moment, but so often we're thinking about the next thing, or, or whatever it might be, not allowing, us to the experience and then how it moves through us, right? Because we can take in an experience and appreciate it for what it is, but allowing it to kind of move and connect with the other, our other parts of us, that are, that as artists, as creators, which we all humans really are, we have that like available. And I think waiting for the universe for input to come in, then for us to sort of like allow it to be created in another form, or yeah. And then you mentioned too at the beginning, or of what you were just saying, that sometimes that it's not flowing and we're not feeling inspired. And I had an experience. I was at the beach this weekend, just here on the coast in Texas. And I was having a great day with my kids, and then they were off doing something. And I sat down and I was just kind of thinking about like, what I'm doing. And I don't know, just having like all these life thoughts and comparing myself to, I was like going into a weird space, and I'm like, and I just was feeling stuck, like so stuck in this place of like I had all my art supplies out there, and I had done a little something, but it was just like, it was a strange feeling. And I just kind of stood up and I was like, all right, like I'm ready. Like, send me the message of like, where do I need to go with this? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? And my daughter was like playing at the water. And so I walked up, and like the water was so cold, and it touched my feet. And it was like, boom, 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 boom. Like, it was like, I felt this immediate change in like my thought, and it was uncomfortable. And I was like, discomfort. Like, here I was like all wrapped in a blanket on my towel with my snacks, and like in just this comfy place, feeling so stuck in my head. And I got out of it, and I was cold, and the wind was blowing, and my feet were, and I felt alive. And it was just this like amazing like message of like, just move outside of this zone. I mean, I've talked about this with you before, that I create these little comfort zones for myself. And then I'm like, well, this is how it's supposed to be, right? I just worked so hard to make this little nest, and now I'm just going to stay here. And then I'm not inspired in that nest. And so anyway, and then I went back with my daughter. She put her swimsuit on. I put my swimsuit on, and like, I was going to dive in, and I got up there, and I like splashed water all over my head, but it was like almost like a cleansing, like, okay,
Yeah.
And the rest of the time I just felt completely different. And it was, I mean, it was inspiring, of just a different way of like viewing, And I did, and I came back just feeling more like, okay, yeah, like
Right.
I have ideas, and it was very cool. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well,
Yeah.
before I respond to that, I want to acknowledge, excuse me, a couple other people that have joined us, and again, welcome. And we'd love to have you join us in the chat. Let us know who you are. We love to know who's with us, and whether you're here with us live or you're watching this later, we still really appreciate you being here and showing up and joining us. Hi, Greer, and welcome. We're talking about where does inspiration come from? So you're welcome to join in on the chat with any of that. So one of the things that you were reminding me of, Kelly, in terms of, so there you were with the stuckness and what have you, and that was one of the thoughts that went through for me this afternoon. It's like, so what do I do when I don't feel the inspiration? And one, I think that what I work with is being gentle with myself, that I don't have to be, quote, on all the time. But it's like, okay, well, I feel like painting or I feel like writing, but what am I going to paint or what am I going to write about, or, whatever it is. And so it reminded me of one of the things that Shiloh, our lovely, wonderful teacher, mentor, um, and what she speaks of in the beginning of intentional creativity. What is it that you care about? And I was thinking about that in terms of inquiries that we do with creative musings. And, there's always an inquiry when we're doing our art. And so sometimes I go to the canvas with the inquiry already known, and that's what I go to the canvas with. And sometimes I'm right there, and it's like, well, I don't know what I want to do. And I can stop and say, what feeds my soul? What makes me alive? Or what is a pain that I'm dealing with right now that I want to heal? What is the energy that I want to move through? And so I can take that. And if I'm still not inspired, I can make a mark on the canvas.
Yeah.
I can draw a circle on the canvas and see what shows up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that can build from there.
Yeah.
And that's what Greer says, and what keeps coming up. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's what does show up when I answer that. And, whether I take it into meditation or I, do my, like a morning page type thing that just write, doesn't matter what I'm writing. And very often that can lead into something.
Absolutely. I was, again, with this design class that I'm doing, I had this theme. In fact, this is a little side note, but I'm doing a series about like ladies of love, which is a series that we did painting classes on. And I was so inspired. I was like, I'm going to use these ladies of love that we learned about and held and did painting about, and find symbols and things I can use for design. So I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then I'm looking at like symbols and animals, and I'm trying to draw like in this way that I think it's supposed to be in this design, right? Which is different than the way I usually work. So I couldn't get it to look how I wanted. So I just did a scribble, like a discovery line. I mean, literally was like thinking about the energy of like Artemis was the goddess that I was working with. And so I was thinking of the energy, and I was like, just moved my pencil around like we do. And that, I think of it kind of like morning pages, right? Like when you're just, free, conscious stream of consciousness writing. And it was like, all of a sudden I was like, well, there's the crescent moon, and here's the arrow, and here's some just lines that I don't really have to represent anything, but they feel good, like in this, around these other images. And it was like, that's what I need. That's what I need, is like that, just kind of like start it moving, and then I can find the forms, which is how we work in with the art journaling and discovery drawing. And it was it was almost like, it was like, okay, I can do that with pencil, and then I can find my images and draw them in pen, erase the pencil, because, you know, what I'm looking for is a little bit cleaner. But it was like a profound, like, wow, this is powerful in so many different ways. And I think
Yep.
helping to find that inspiration is one of the ways that whatever your creative practice is, whether it's just starting with the dots, or writing, or putting that portal on, or, you know, like doing some kind of color wash just to take away the whole white of the canvas or the paper. That process allows for inspiration to come
Right.
through. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes just doing. You know, I have this image right now of how many times have I started, even if the canvas or the process sort of knows where it's going, but just to start with the three colors that we often do. And, you know, here's the past, present, and the future. And then listening to the intuition. How many times do we have ideas that are flowing, 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 and we ignore them?
Yeah.
And so just going with that concept, that process. And yes, Greer, that process.
Yeah.
We just start and allow.
I know. And I mean, I'm having this like big, like, but what Guru said, that process, and really, like, this might be too much, but that process of just living, right? I mean, the process of like being creative and making the thing, but also the process of stepping outside and like lifting your head and like noticing what you see, and the conversations that you have, and the things that you take in, and the things that you choose to say no to, you know, because I mean, that's the process that then fuels and feeds like the life that you're creating, the inspiring life that you get to live. And I feel so fortunate that I am an artist, that I also get to take those experiences and make something that I think is beautiful, you know, with it. But I mean, that process of paying attention and being intentional with how you're, you know, moving through it. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that we also, you know, deal with and discuss, and that's how, you know, that perfectionism comes in. And it's like, well, you know, I can't be or I'm not. If somebody has the old voice that says, you know, I'm not creative, or I'm not good enough. Well, I can't paint. I can't play music. You know, that's not me. I'm not a creative. I'm not an artist, etc. And what I love that for me, what I have learned so much in the last number of years is you can't get this wrong.
Yeah.
There's nothing that can't be fixed, can't be painted over. It's not about the product, it's about the enjoyment, the process. And so whether it's um, a a healing process, or just I want to play and have fun process,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just be in that moment, and it really doesn't matter what is happening and what's coming out, other than I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Because when we put a dam in that creative flow, oh my goodness, the things that back up inside of us
Yeah.
and get stuck. And so, can we just put that line across a paper or a canvas, whether it's with a pencil or paint or clay, and smear it, or, you know, whatever it is, or fingers in the sand, and just moving energy and playing.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
creative part of inspiration, and it doesn't have to be this big perfectionist moment that holds us back because I'm not good enough.
Right. Right.
What if somebody sees it and laughs at me? That's not a tree. You know, it's like,
Right.
what? You know, that's not their tree. It's my tree.
Right. Right. I
Yeah.
was watching part of this thing again that I'm doing. She shared this, it was like a video of a piece by Ira Glass, and it's called The Gap. And I had heard it before, and it's about how we as creatives, whether you're a writer or an artist, whatever, that you're kind of drawn to this and that you probably have really good taste, right? Like you see a good piece of art and you know it's a good piece of art, right? Then, but your skills like aren't at that level yet. So you make something and then you don't like what you make because it doesn't match your taste, you know? And I get that. And I have been there. And it makes you not want to make the thing because you feel like, well, this looks stupid compared to what I would like to see, you know? But when I was watching it today, I was watching with my mom actually, and I was like, I don't feel that way anymore. And it's not because I'm like such an amazing artist. It's because I see the beauty, like capital B beauty of what I'm making through a completely different lens now. I mean, it's that process, it's that connection. And like Guru Dharma said, like that authenticity of like expressing myself. And I mean, it doesn't mean that everything I make, I'm like, I'm going to frame it and hang it on my wall. Like, because it's not, some of the things I make, I feel that way, but it was just cool to like, to hear this thing that I know that feeling of, and to just have moved my creativity into a different realm of my life where that's not really what it's about anymore. Even if I am making it to be a nice design for something, it's still that creative process is something different. Yes. And play. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going rogue, using the rogue to transition where we're supposed to go next. Love of nature, in spirit, inspired, connected. And you know, Kelly, to get where you just have spoken of, that you've transitioned into that new phase or that next phase or whatever, that took practice.
Yeah.
It meant showing up and doing it over and over and exploring. And at least that's my imagination.
It
What
is. Yes.
because as I see that for me, you know, it's like, you know what? I can let go of that because of the love that I feel inside when I express myself, what's in me. And, you know, letting go of that part of the critic that says it has to be perfect and it has to look a certain way. And, you know, it's just like, if I don't create, I am not feeding my soul.
Yeah.
And I don't have to create with perfection. In fact, that probably draws it back a little bit.
Right.
So, yeah.
Because you can be working towards making something that you do want to look a certain way. Maybe you're learning how to paint landscapes and like, I want to make the sun, the sky or whatever, like look this certain way. But you can still work towards something looking a certain way and feel the joy and the energy of learning how to do that. Letting that process of playing with the paint and figuring it out and looking and studying and being outside to look at the sky so that you get to experience that and you get to keep trying. And I mean, letting that fill you with joy and excitement and curiosity rather than like, you know, letting that inspiration get shut down and say, oh, I can't do this, you know, like it can be both. It can be working hard to be able to do something with a certain skill or technique and letting the flow and the healing and all of that magic that comes with intentional creativity happen in the you know, as well.
Yeah. Indeed. All right. Yes, Greer, it is hard at times when you're, you know, not feeling it or the critic is, you know, going on, or, you know, it's like this image of the child learning to walk is what's coming up for me right now. And they fall and they get back up and they do it again and they fall and their bottoms are cushioned so a lot of times they're going to laugh, you know, and if the people around them are laughing, then it makes it easier. But they're determined to get it. And that's, you know, on the one hand, it's totally a form of creativity. On the other hand, you know, someone could say, well, that's not really the creative process. It's like, well, it sure sounds like a lot of creativity to get the body working in this way. And it depends upon what you want to do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we
Yes.
are at our time, and yes, feeding your soul, Guru Dharam. It's like, what more do I want to do in my life? You know. So whether I'm interacting with you, with my people around me, my community, my animals, um, walking in the mountains, I want to feed my soul, and it does. All of it does it. So, anything more
Yes.
before we close, Kelly?
No, I just think it's such a beautiful thing when we can start with something that seems, it's not simple, but like, where do you get your inspiration? Who knows what we could have talked about? Like, oh, well, when I look at this, but that it comes to this, like, from living life, and being open to
Yeah,
the process and all of the things that were shared in the comments here. That's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Thank you so much for
Beautiful.
joining us. Those of you that we know are here, others that we feel your energy. Don't know who we're feeling the energy from, and so whether you were here with us live or you catch the replay, we so appreciate you.
Yes.
And Kelly, I appreciate you,
I
all that you
appreciate
bring
you.
to the table. And may each of you have a lovely spring. We're just past the equinox, and may everything bloom in your life that you're planting the seeds of. And may we have peace on this earth.
Yes.
Sending prayers to all those that are needing it. May healing happen. Peace and blessings to all.
Yes.